A very good evening and welcome to this NDLI Club's 13th global event. I'm Dr. Vignesh. I'm part of the National Digital Library of India team. As you are aware, NDLI hosts over 8 crore knowledge resources in almost all the domains of education and research. And today we have over 2,792 NDLI clubs spread across the country, and the number is increasing every day. And today collectively we have over 6 lakh NDLI club members alone, apart from our 66 lakh usage base at the National Digital Library. As I said, this is the 13th in the series of global events that the NDLA has been organizing. And today we have gathered to listen to our expert speaker, Dr. Yudhishthira, who is the scientist D and a cybersecurity expert at the Computer Emergency Response Team India, which is one of the key nodal agencies entrusted with the responsibility of securing the digital assets of this country. And today he is going to talk to us on this very important topic of cyber security attacks and how to protect yourself. And without taking much time, now I'd like to request Professor Partha Chakrabarti, who is the principal investigator of this National Digital Library of India, and also this is his brainchild initiative. So now I would like to request Professor Chakrabarti to take it forward. Over to Professor Chakrabarti.
Thank you, Dr. Vignesh. Welcome, Dr. Sapru. And it is a very topical time when we are discussing a nationwide awareness at various levels of what we call cyber hygiene. That means, how am I going to protect myself against cyber attacks? And how I am going to make sure that I do not fall prey to becoming part and parcel of cyber attacks in the whole world. We have an expert here, Dr. Yudhishthira Sapru, who is working, as Dr. Vignesh mentioned, a scientist D in the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT-In, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. He has more than 17 years of experience in consulting, cybersecurity, managing SOC operations, and program management. He has vast experience in project implementation and has been associated in more than 80 projects in various capacities for both government and MNC organizations. He is a certified cyber incident handler. He has also been certified by Kaspersky, IBM, PMI USA, UN, APCICT, and University of Cambridge. He is currently handling various teams at CERT-In and dealing with matters on national security. He has received awards and accolades for various organizations for his work. He has been a recipient of the prestigious State Award for Chandigarh administration on the occasion of Republic Day 2017 and Independence Day 2020 for his immense contributions towards public service. He has a doctoral degree in management from Punjab University, Chandigarh. He is an alumnus of IIM Lucknow and holds a bachelor's degree in engineering from PEC Chandigarh. His research papers and articles on cybersecurity have been published in some of the well-known national and international journals and magazines. With this, without wasting much ado, I welcome Dr. Yudhishthira Sapru to deliver his keynote lecture. Dr. Sapru.
So, very good evening to everybody, and I would first of all like to thank Professor Chakrabarti for having been agreed to be the moderator for this session, and I would also like to thank NDLI and Dr. Vignesh for inviting me on this lecture. I'll just share I've made a presentation and um, uh, Is the slide visible?
Yes, yes, Dr. Sabru. We can see the presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, yes, cybersecurity is a very important topic. And now the technology has grown over the years. And earlier, only a few people would have a desktop at their homes. Now, everybody is carrying a mobile in their hand. So, technology is helping us. 5G is coming, IoT devices are being used. And with COVID, also, people are moving to home. So, yes, technology has helped us. But at the same time, uh, the attack surface has also increased. More people who are using technology, they are more prone to attacks. And that's why cybersecurity is very important today. And I've tried to make this presentation as less technical as possible for the students and others who have joined, so that they can understand, because this is somewhat a technical subject. I'll try my best to be as as possible, that you are able to understand this subject. And it is a very comprehensive subject, so I will focus on my presentation on the key attacks that happen and that concerns more us as a citizens. And so that we know what are these attacks and we can protect ourselves. The best way I feel is that once we know the modus operandi of the attackers, how they attack, and once we are aware about these things, then I think we'd be in a better position to protect ourselves on cybersecurity. So the agenda of my presentation would be, I'll be discussing about password attacks, phishing attacks, ransomware attacks, cryptojacking attacks, mobile attacks, APT attacks, and certain safety tips. So I'll be talking a lot about attacks. Yes, but within these slides, you will also get to know how you can protect yourself against each type of attack. So, so this is a picture which probably you might not be expecting. I'm giving a lecture on cybersecurity. You might be expecting certain IT company or IT infrastructure, but this is a building. This is actually a power plant, and it is a nuclear power plant. So, what has IT or a cybersecurity to do with it? Yes, if you are thinking on those lines, yes, nuclear power plants are also prone to cyber attacks. Anything which is directly or indirectly linked to internet is prone to cyber attacks. And in these power plants, we have industrial control systems which are being managed by technology. And yes, we do have instances where the attackers have been able to exploit and attack the nuclear power plants. In fact, a couple of years back in India, we had a similar incident in Tamil Nadu, where it is reported that a nuclear power plant, Kudankulam power plant, was attacked by North Korean threat actors. They wanted to know how Indians are working on thorium enrichment. But I'll discuss this case study, which is somewhat old now, but it gives you a taste of how things are happening. So, in mid of 2009 and 10, about 15 Iranian sites, nuclear facilities were attacked, and one of them was their main facility, the Natanz nuclear facility. So, what was happening was that a number of uranium enrichment centrifuges, they were just breaking down due to changes in their own speed. And Iranian government would not know why this is happening. Was this some mechanical failure or some the configuration change? But eventually they had some agency, and turned out that only a zero point 0.5 MB worm file was doing all this damage. It destroyed up to 1,000 centrifuges. And there was the Iranian nuclear program halted and went back a few years because of this attack. So look at a damage that a cyber attack can do, and that's why it's more concerning. So how this worm was worked? Somebody plugged in a pen drive. Just a pen drive was plugged into one of the computers in this nuclear facility, and this malware just spread, and it finally found out the systems where their industrial control systems were installed, which used to control those centrifuges. And they would eventually the centrifuges spun themselves to failure, and the worm was so smart that it would give false feedback to the users, and they would not know what is happening. They could not take action in time, and by the time they realized, it was too late. I'll take another case study. This one is fairly recent. It happened last year. Again, non IT stuff. There was an attack on oil gas pipeline in eastern USA. This pipeline was used to move petrol and jet fuel across the eastern coast of USA. So on 6th of May last year, yes, the attackers launched a ransomware attack on this pipeline, and they also stole 100 GB of data, and they infected the billing system. In this case, their operational systems were not impacted, but their billing system was impacted. And because the billing systems were not working, they stopped their pipeline. And eventually, next day only, the company paid 75 bitcoins in ransomware. And the matter got worse, and it was only on 12th of May, after 5 days, that the pipeline restarted. And as you can see in the last point, it led to high increase in gasoline prices across the country, and 10,000 plus stations were even without petrol even on 18th May. This is the timeline of that attack. And the president of USA declared the state of emergency on 9th of May. And look at the damage the cyber attacks do these days. And eventually FBI was involved, and it's a very rare instance that a majority of ransom that was paid, that was recovered. I'll dwell upon in detail what are ransomware attacks in my further slides. But now, what would have happened? In the Iranian case, certain person plugged in the pen drive. Here, it was just the attackers gained an access to a VPN account password of one of the employees. A VPN account password uh, is used by employees to work from their home, so that during the COVID time, they can access the systems. This account was no longer active. It was active, but it was not in use. And incidentally, the employee was using the same password elsewhere, and they got this password from the dark web. Dark web is actually a black version of our internet. Dark web is used for all illegal transactions, for kidnappings, smuggling, weapons, and all these malwares. They are traded on dark web. They found the password on the dark web, and just a single account breach led to a state of emergency in US. So what is common in these two case studies? Uh, in both the case studies, common thing is that at the end of day, there was some human error that was caused, and which led to such big attacks. In the case of Iran, there are multiple theories that go. A, they spied on the scientists, and they infected their home machines, and some Iranian scientists would have plugged pen drive at his home, which was then infected by worm, and again plugged that same pen drive into that Iranian facility. They might have used some spy as an Iranian scientist, or there is another theory that they just dropped a pen drive outside the campus, and somebody would have picked it and plugged into the some computer. A fairly common scenario. What would you do? Let's say you just find a pen drive outside your house. Your first reaction would be that I'll just plug into the pen drive and see whose pen drive is this, what is the data, and such mistakes we human makes. And in the case of this colonial pipeline, he used a common password to some other account, right? Okay, I'll show you a few logos of certain companies, and I'm sure you would have known these companies. You would know these companies: Airtel, MobiQuick, Air India, Facebook, Big Basket, Unacademy, JustPay, and Domino's Pizza. So, is there anything common in these organizations? Yes, they have a good customer base in India. But the common thing with these organizations is they were victims of data breaches in past year and a half. It's so common. And in a breach, your personal details are stolen, and they are traded on dark web for money. And people who have malicious intentions, they buy those stolen data. And even advertisement companies, they are willing to buy those stolen data. My next slide will open your eyes. What amount of data was stolen? Airtel, 2.5 million records. MobiQuick, 3.5 million records. And it is Big Basket, 20 million records. What is stolen? My name, my email address, my passport details, my credit card data. Everything is stolen. So it is already there with the attackers. So I have a very big reason to worry. So what should I do? I need to surf safely on the internet, save myself, protect myself as much as I can do. So I'll start with password attacks, and these are fairly common attacks, but very relevant. We are very easily compromised. So these are certain types of password attacks. I'll touch upon each of these. Shoulder surfing, no technology involved. And this is actually happening in defense installations and big corporate organizations. There are industrial spies. Some important person, he's keying into his password, and somebody just behind the shoulders looks what is the password. You may laugh at it, but it is happening. Again, something which you will laugh at. There are organizations who specialize in finding the passwords and other information in your garbage bags, in your dustbins. They are looking for passwords, the calendars, the reports, credit card receipts, some printed emails, other important informations. So please never write your passwords on a piece of paper. And if you have written them, you shred that paper. Don't throw it in the dustbin. Um, the other type of attacks are the brute force attacks. So it is as if, in putting into simple words, the attacker tries all the permutations and combinations till he gets your correct password. So he need not put much effort. He has to just instruct his computers to try every combination till the password is cracked. Brute force. So now I would like to say that the smaller the password, very easily it can be cracked. Longer the password, it would take time. So my message to you, always keep good long passwords. But how long is it going to take a normal computer to brute force your password? Again, the next slide is going to open your eyes. On the left, most column you can see one character, two character, three character, four characters, 5, 6, 7, 8. All these passwords can be cracked by a normal computer instantaneously. Even 9 characters in 2 minutes. And as you move to right, yes, the computers will have to work very hard. And if you have a 10 character password which has at least one uppercase, one number, and one symbol, a normal computer would take about 5 years to crack. And this should be your target. So, my message to you, have good and complex passwords. Don't be lazy in setting your passwords because I've already explained to you what lenient passwords, lazy passwords can result into. Right? So, I'll move forward to dictionary attacks. So, it's an extension of a brute force attack. And rather than trying all the permutations and combinations, the attackers are somewhat smart. What will they do? They have a dictionary of common passwords which people use. What are those common passwords? Password. Welcome 123, India, my date of birth, Independence Day, 15th August 1947. Very easy to crack. And mind you, these dictionaries also contain the passwords which are leaked in breaches of Airtel, Air India, and Domino's. They have a good database and they are even smarter. So they have they also try a little deviation of passwords like password one, capital password. They will also have their in dictionary one password and pass X word. So these type of combinations they are also stored. So please now you are aware that these type of attacks are also possible. So before I get to the next category of password attack, I will just try to explain to you that how passwords are actually stored on good websites, let's say Google, Gmail, how they store. So let's say to understand that, I have to explain you how hashing works. So hashing is a mathematical operation which generates a fingerprint, sort of a fingerprint for each of the input that is given to it. So if I give it an input, I love India, and if I put it to a hashing algorithm, it will generate a unique string of one zeros, which can be represented as I've shown in this diagram. So the beauty of hashing algorithm is every time I input I love India, the same password hash fingerprint will be generated. But if I do a very minor change, let's say in this I love India, I just make the first I small, the password will change dramatically. It would not be very close to the existing password, it would change dramatically. That's the beauty of hashing algorithm. Another beauty, if I somehow able to get the hash, I cannot reverse back to the password. So if I know the hash is AEF1QWER, I cannot generate I love India password from that. So that's the beauty of hashing algorithm. Now, the first time you register onto Google or Gmail and it asks you to set the password. So let's say I use the password I love India. So the Google is not going to store my password I love India. Very strange. It is only going to store my hash, the hash of I love India. That's only stored. So even if that password, Google's database is stolen, they would not know what my password is. So next time when I again come to Google, I am again asked to enter I love India. Then Google will again generate a hash and compare it with the existing hash that is stored. And since a same password always generate a same hash, so I'm allowed an access. So this is how hashing works. And this is how mostly good websites they store your password. So if you are developing certain website, please ensure you don't store the passwords you only store the hashes. But we have very smart attackers. They also are not going to convert every time the password and generate its hash and finding it in a dictionary. They have a dictionary of hashes also. They've stored all the hashes of the passwords that are commonly used. It runs into millions and billions. So this is a rainbow table attack. So even hash passwords are not that safe. So now the only thing remains here is that you need to have a very unique password which is rarely used, and you should often change your passwords. It's a very simple thing, but somehow we people are, we tend to be lazy. We don't use complex passwords. We say that it is very difficult to memorize what the password is. So I'll explain an easy way to generate good passwords which you can memorize, and this is called passphrases. So I'll take an example and identify certain sentence words from a book or from something of your prayer or some movie, and identify certain sentence. Like I've done that for the Salman Khan fans. They would have heard this dialogue. एक बार जो मैंने कमिटमेंट कर दी फिर मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता. So this is a phrase. So to generate a password, what I'll do, I'll just take the first character of each of the words. So this is a phrase which I can generate. EBJMCKY, first characters of each of the words of the phrase. Then I can do a little more tweaking. What I can do, I can make my first character as uppercase. M I can rotate 90 degrees. Uh, in the sentence space where I can add dollars, instead of A, I can add at the rates. S I can write as 5. This password, the attacker is not going to find in his rainbow table or a dictionary. So this is an example. You can choose whatever phrase you want, and this is a better way to remember passwords and keep complex passwords. So next, sniffing. This is somewhat technical, and sniffing, it simply means if you are communicating on the internet, the techie can just sniff whatever information you are sending or receiving on the internet. He can sniff all the communication if your communication is not secured. So even if you are passing your passwords, credit card details, these are being sniffed. These can be sniffed by an attacker. So how to safely and securely access internet? That my next slide will tell. So I think some of you might have heard of HTTPS. HTTPS would be like if you access some website, like I've shown, youtube.com, HTTPS www.youtube.com. This HTTPS means that this website is secured. S, mind you, HTTP does not specify that it is secured. Only HTTPS with an S specifies it is secured. So whichever website supports HTTPS, it means that there are two things. It means that all the data that you communicate with this website, let's say youtube.com, it's encrypted. Nobody can see your passwords or credit card details. First. Second, it also certifies that it is actually youtube.com. So some people may create a fake website, but that certificate of youtube.com can only be verified with this HTTPS. So how do you identify if any website is secured? Yeah, I've used a Chrome browser example, and I've entered youtube.com. Yes. Can you see this lock? This means that this website is secured, right? It supports HTTPS, but in a layman's language, this website is fairly support. I should be comfortable doing transactions on these websites. All the banking websites which you access should have a lock in the browser. Other browsers also have similar symbols, and you can easily see that. Now, if you click on this lock button, it will show this pop-up. It will tell this connection is secure, that I have already told you, and the certificate is valid. Certificate means that it has been certified by some government organization that I have issued this certificate to youtube.com, and it is actually youtube.com, not a fake website, right? Now, how does a non-secure website looks? Yes, this is a website which I use in my hometown to make bill payments of electricity and water. This website is not secure. And what Chrome is saying, it is not showing a lock. As you can read, not secure. And there is an exclamation triangle mark. So here, how you can identify these, that this website is not secure and I have to be somewhat safe. Okay, I've talked about a lot of things, but I've not talked about virus, worms, trojans. So there is a specialized category of malware, which we call as keyloggers. What are keyloggers? As the name suggests, whatever you type on the keyboard or on your mobile, it records all those keys. It's a spyware, and it is usually used by companies and parents also keep a track on their employees and keywords kids. So very dangerous thing. You just cannot get safe from this, even if you have a very strong password, but you are actually typing in the password and some attacker would know that what password you are typing, right? So I would advise, don't go to wrong websites. Keep very safe. It is only at these wrong sites, websites, or cheap websites or malicious websites that you, when you go to those websites, the malware gets downloaded onto your computer, and in this case a keylogger can also be downloaded onto your computer. But there is a way to save from these keyloggers also. Multi-factor authentication. So in cybersecurity, there are many ways to authenticate yourself, but there are broadly three ways in which you can authenticate yourself. In the middle, you can see something you know. It is like a password that you only know. It's on your brain, or it could be a ATM pin card that only you know, right? So this is one factor of authentication. On the second side, on the right side is something you are. It is like your fingerprints. It is actually you are. And on the leftmost side, something you have, like I have an ATM card. This is I possess this card. So multi-factor authentication says that you need to use at least two factors of authentication to log into some system. So if I go to an ATM, I need two factors. One, something I know, my PIN, and something I have, my ATM card, right? And um, another example of two-factor authentication, I go to a website, on a banking website. First, it's asked me to enter a password. I enter the password. This is something I know. Then it asks me to enter an OTP also. The OTP can only come on my mobile. So something I have. So so please try to use at least two-factor authentication, right? So I'm through with password attacks, and now I come on to phishing attacks, which are more prevalent, more dangerous, and uh, these attacks are we are facing in a day-to-day life. In fact, there is a survey which says that even close to 90% organizations, they say that we have been victims of phishing attacks, and this is a very recent survey. So what is phishing? Phishing is an attack technique in which an attacker sends an email or provides a link falsely claiming to be a legitimate website. Let's say you get an email, and it is from icicibank.com, and it says, sir, um, we need to verify your account. Please click on the link below. If you don't click, your account will be deactivated tomorrow. What will you do? You will just click the link, and a replica fake website of icicibank.com opens, and you fill in their details, and that details are being captured by the attacker, and you are compromised. I'll explain this phishing through a diagram which I have made. Step one, the attacker creates a phishing website. Let's say it is an exact replica of icicibank.com. And if he's more smarter, then he can create that website as icicibank.co.in. So even if you read on the URL, you would not know that it is actual ICICI Bank website or not. Second, he will send an malicious email to you that that you need, which contains a link for you to click. And once you click on that link, obviously you will not go to the actual website; you'll go to the phishing website, right? And once you enter your details on those phishing websites, he captures your details and use those details to actually withdraw money from your net banking account. This is phishing. So I've used this snippet of a phishing email, a typical phishing email, email from the tax revenue department, and it is giving me a very happy news. I have a tax refund, $944. I'll just click the link, and I get compromised. These people are very smart. They phrase very good emails. A similar example of a phishing website, Income Tax Department of India. And what are they taking? All my credit card details, card holder name. At the bottom, bank name, card number, expiration date, card verification number, ATM pin. And please don't think that I'm not going to get fooled. It is people like us, educated people, who get fooled. Seriously, this is happening, and this is these people specialize in social engineering, and it is people who are not aware, that much aware, get exploited, right? So please don't blindly click on any phishing website. So phishing also comes in a variety. So normal phishing is, it is not targeted to a particular person. You, like me and you, many people across India, they will receive very generic mails, so they are not targeted. But it is only a few people who click and they get compromised. So this is generic phishing. Spear phishing, it is targeted to a certain people or a person. Like it could be targeted to people in the army, or it could be targeted at scientists in Iran. This is spear phishing. It is a tailored content that it would talk about technology and everything, and these type of mails are being crafted. It would not be a generic mail. But the attackers, they are looking for big fishes. They also, the other type of phishing is whaling. They look to attack CEOs, CFOs, directors of big institutes using whaling. Again, an email would come. And yes, we do have instances where CEOs, they're too busy with the emails, they do get compromised. And the reward in this, in case of whaling, is much more than a normal phishing. So phishing, I've told you, I've taken example of email only, but there are other varieties of phishing also. Wishing is voice phishing. It is, you're not getting an email, but you get a call. Sir, I'm calling from State Bank of India. You have an account in this branch. This is the last four digits of your credit card. So your credit card is going to be blocked. Please share me your details, CVV number, OTP. This is phishing. And do you know there's a fishing capital of India, Jamtara, in Jharkhand. It is notorious for fishing. And there is another category of phishing, which we call as smishing, right? You will receive an SMS message. Sir, sir, your bank account will get deactivated tomorrow. Please click on the link below. And obviously that link is not genuine, right? And I tell you, these attackers are getting more smarter with the technology that is improving now. Phishing, yes, there are QR codes everywhere on railway station, on newspapers. To get more information, scan the QR code. You scan the QR code, and what you get? A malicious link. You go to a malicious website. You may download a malicious malware app, wrong app. That's what's happening. So it's a very dangerous world. So please, please, please be sure before you click on any link, right? Then there are CEO scams also. And one day, probably you will work in an organization, or you will have an organization of your own. And these scams are prevalent in organizations. What happens? You get an email from the CEO of the company. I need this information urgently. False email. But yeah, CEO has sent that email. I have to reply him. What do? You share your financial details of the company. Compromised. Again, human error, right? Uh, this type of phishing, farming, right? This phishing is without a lure. In all the previous examples, phishing, wishing, and whaling, spear phishing, you are lured through an email or some message. But in this type of email, let's say if you go to some wrong website or a malicious website, some worm, some virus may be installed into your computer. And even if you type a correct website, let's say hdfc.com, you are going to be redirected to a wrong website. So farming is, yes, they have created a large farms of wrong websites. These attackers, they don't have anything else to you. They are only focused upon getting money from you. And in fact, 86% of the breaches, attacks, they are financially motivated. So it is, I would again stress upon the point, phishing is very dangerous, very common, and these attacks are increasing. Please use utmost care uh, while clicking on the links. You have to be very sure, right? So I've covered password attacks and phishing attacks. And another category of attacks which have become very popular are the ransomware attacks. Earlier, kidnappers would seek ransom by kidnapping kids from their parents. They would kidnap executives of the company. They will seek firoti from the company. Now, they are seeking ransom from people like us, from big companies. Ransom against something which is precious to us. What is precious to us? Our data, my photos, my marriage photos, my kids photos, they are very precious to us. Or some, my phd thesis, one month before submission, my file is encrypted, it is locked, right? So what is a ransomware attack? So it is a malware which encrypts and blocks access to your confidential data unless you pay a ransom. So simple ransomware would be, they would just simply lock the computer. But common malwares are, they encrypt all of your data. Encryption means you just cannot read it or use it, that data. So you have to decrypt it, right? And I here introduce a term called double extortion. Double extortion is: A, he asked me to pay ransom. B, he also says, if you don't pay the ransom, what I'll do, I've stolen your data. I'll make that data public, or I'll sell that data in the dark web. This is double extortion. And in the colonial pipeline case study, which I had at the start of the presentation, it was a case of double extortion. They stole 100 GBs of data, and they informed the company, if you don't pay the ransom, we will leak that data into the public. Now we are also witnessing triple extortion. What the attackers would do, they will say, they will go to my clients that yes, I've stolen this data from XYZ company and I've sought ransom from them. Ask them to pay ransom on time or your data will also be leaked. This is triple extortion. Look at the way this technology is involved, right? And yes, big organizations, people who are in need of data, they are paying the ransoms, and that's what's jacking up of cryptocurrencies. So before I explain how ransomware works, again, I'll this is somewhat technical, but let me try to explain in my words. Let's say uh, I work. Let's assume I work in the embassy of China, Indian embassy in China. I work there, and I have to send some important message to the external affairs of Minister of India, who is sitting in New Delhi. So I use a key to encrypt my message using key one, right? And this key encrypts my message, and I now have in the middle an encoded message, which you can see, which is symbolized by a lock. So this encoded message cannot be read by anybody unless this message is decrypted. So somebody in Delhi should have that key too to decrypt that data. Mind you, in this case, key 1 alone will not work. Key 1 can just encrypt, and even if you use key 1 again, it would not decrypt. You will have to use key 2 only. So they work in pairs. So this is how asynchronous cryptography works. And now let me explain you how this is used in ransomware attacks. It again starts with a phishing email that you might get, and you click on that mail, and there's a link which downloads a ransomware malware onto your computer. Right? There are other ways also, but I've taken a phishing example. So at step number 2, the malware is now in your computer. So at this point, the malware will contact its my bap who is sitting somewhere in Africa or North Korea and says, "Sir, I've entered this computer and I've got very good, precious information, some financial details which would be of very importance." So my bap says, "Go ahead, you please encrypt all the data on this computer," and he sends him key 1. Key 1 is used to encrypt all the data onto this computer. So now, as part of step number 4, in the evening you log into your computer, you're not able to access the data, you're not able to log in. Even if you click on the photo or some important your Excel sheet, the data is logged. Instead, you are shown a very beautiful message. I have encrypted your data, it is locked, you need to pay X number of bitcoins. Only after you pay those bitcoins, I will unlock your data. And this is an address, and these are multiple ways to pay those bitcoins. And please pay data in time, or I will leak your data on the dark web. Double extortion. And eventually, people have to pay that ransom. And as shown in point number 5, I pay that ransom to the malware attacker. And after once I've paid that ransom, he releases that key to me so that I can decrypt it. So again, my request, please don't go to websites which you are not comfortable with. Don't look for websites which are offering you everything in free, but they're filled with pop-ups, advertisements. They just contain the malware, nothing else. So why cryptocurrencies are so popular, and why ransomware via cryptocurrency is so popular? The only reason is that you cannot find or track the criminals once they are using bitcoins or any other currency. There's a high degree of anonymity in cryptocurrency transactions, right? So I found three ways in which these transactions are obscured and it is very difficult to track. Number one, currency tumbler. You mix various transactions and you mix them well. So it is very difficult to find whose transaction is whose. Yes, there are certain organizations who are offering tumbler services. A, money mules. You hire hitmans, you hire people who can get the money on your behalf, deliver it to you. Money mules, right? And they cannot. There can be multiple money mules involved in a chain, not a single. So it gets very difficult to track. Currency conversion fairly easy from Bitcoin to some other currency like Ethereum. So the trail all again goes away. So that's why the attackers like Bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, because they can get caught. So I wanted a slide where I can show you what are the figures of 2021, but I could not get it. But this slide gives a fairly good example of how this market is evolving, right? An exponential rise from 2019 to 2020, and and at the same time, the worst part is you need not be a techie to undertake this ransomware attacks. You go to dark web and just purchase ransomware tools. People are offering those for some money, ransomware as a service. You can just buy there. You need not be a techie to create a ransomware and undertake attacks. So that's why this this marketing is growing, and there are attackers in North Korea who are funding their military programs using ransomwares only. So such is the evolution of cyber attacks that we are witnessing. Here also we do see a large number of ransomware attacks in India, right? Cryptojacking. So before I tell you, I've taken cryptojacking because cryptocurrencies have become a fairly common trend these days. And cryptojacking is a type of attack which is associated with cryptocurrencies. So, uh, have you ever wondered how new bitcoins are generated? Like Reserve Bank of India, it has their own printing press mints where they generate new coins or print more money. Is there somebody who's sitting at the top who is generating bitcoins? No, there is no Reserve Bank of India like thing in bitcoins. I've taken bitcoins. This is what is happening in bitcoin. So I'll explain how bitcoins are mined. Of other currencies, there may be other mechanisms. So in bitcoins, there's a process of validating cryptocurrency transactions. Let's say there are about 10,000 transactions which have happened. So there is a mathematical problem which is to be solved in order to validate those transactions, right? So you need computers to solve that difficult problem, and the first person who solves that problem gets a financial reward of certain bitcoins. Currently in 2022, for every transaction, that person gets 6.25 bitcoins. This is about if I'm not wrong, about 1.75 crores, and this is happening every 10 minutes. So rewarding. So this is the way bitcoins are getting generated. So this figure of 6.25 would be about 3.125. It will half. This reward would be halved after some years, and 2 years back it was 12.5. The reward was much higher. So as I told you, these problems or this mining is not an easy task. You need a large number of computers. You need a large number of energy to undertake to solve these problems, and you have to be the first one to solve this problem because only one person gets a reward every 10 minutes, right? So people have big farms, As you can see in this slide, there are big farmhouses where a data center only purpose is to do mining, nothing else, right? As you can see in this slide on the right, these are all integrated chips which are deployed only to solve the mining problem, so that I'm able to solve the mining problem first. But this is a huge investment. Anybody cannot just set up this farm. It has to be provided by power, and you are not assured of the rewards also. Now I come to cryptojacking. Now, why to hire such a farmhouse when there are people like me who are owning a mobile phone, and a mobile phone has is having a good enough processing power also. So yes, what do they do? They, without my information, they install some malware into my mobile and use its processing power to do the mining. Do I have to do I have to be concerned about it? Yes. A, some malware is there in my mobile. B, it is making my mobile slow. So I will just through this diagram try to explain how cryptojacking works. So the attacker, what it does, it goes to a website and installs some malware onto it. It could be a popular website like say youtube.com. So once you go to youtube.com or some other website, that script gets installed into your computer or Chrome browser. Now, even if you are not directly working on your laptop and you are doing something else, but your laptop is on, that browser would be doing mining on the behalf of the attacker. And if the attacker is able to solve the problem using multiple computers which have been hacked, he can get the Bitcoin rewards. This is how cryptojacking works. Interesting, very interesting. You just see that how these people have become smarter. They are using blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, AI and ML. These are not for people like us only. They are also using these technologies, right? So mobile attacks, I think yes, I have few minutes. Yeah, the numbers of attacks using mobile phones is immense. Same attacks as you have on your computers, you can have on the mobiles. It is not that I'm using an Android phone or an iOS phone. No, nothing of that sort. If they are as vulnerable as our Windows desktops, right? So I'll not go into details of these mobile attacks, but just have a look at this image. This is called juice jacking. What happens? You go to an airport, you need to charge your mobile. Just uh, input your data cable into a multi-socket charger, right? Fairly simple. A data cable is there, so why not an attacker can have his system in place and just transfer all the data which is there on your mobile and transfer the data, or even if he wants, he can install some malware onto your mobile also. Yes, that's happening, right? So please, my request, these type of attacks are not fairly common, but please avoid using data charging points, but you can use the power sockets, obviously. Yes. Bluetooth attacks, various type of Bluetooth attacks are there. Given the time now I have, I will not go into details, but the message I want to convey is please, 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 uh, don't keep your Bluetooth on unless you really need to transfer data, right? That's my message. Wi-Fi attacks, right? Public Wi-Fi hotspots, fairly common. I go to an airport, open my mobile, there is an Wi-Fi SSID free airport. I just go into it and start accessing, right? What the attackers would do, they will install a twin of that Wi-Fi router just around that main router. Same SSID, free airport. And in this case, all of your information that you are surfing is accessible to the attacker. So, so this is one example. There are multiple Wi-Fi attacks. My personal advice to you: please avoid public Wi-Fi's as much as possible, even if they are free. Right?
Dr.
So,
Sabru,
yes, sir.
so we have another 10 minutes total, so maybe you can quickly
Right.
cover it.
Ajay, we have 10 minutes. Right.
So
Thank you.
we can take few questions also, so maybe you can.
Okay, I'll just okay, I'll skip this APT attacks also. Um, these are attacks which are undertaken by big state actors, like we saw attack on Iran nuclear facility and attack on US pipeline, and there are attacks on India also by APTs. So yes, right. I'll skip this slide. So APTs, in simple words, these are big groups whose only aim is to exploit countries. Like an APT in Pakistan would be more interested in country like India. It would try to exploit. It would undertake attacks on Indian military installations. They would try to get uh, information through phishing emails on the movement of troops. That's how lethal it is. And the beauty about APTs is that they work so much in the background that it they may be into your system for years and you would not know. They may be, they as I speak, they might be into my computer and I would not know. So these are proper popular APTs. The point I've kept on APTs is that does it concern me? Not directly, but yes, as a citizen it concerns me. When a APT is sitting in China, when our soldiers are having a standoff in Ladakh, and APT sitting in China brings down uh, uh, Western grid in Mumbai, and there is no power in stock exchanges. Trains stop running, offices they're without power. At least there are certain reports which claim that there was actually an attack on the Mumbai grid in 2020, but these claims are not verified. Right. So I come to my last slide. Obviously, uh, I'm not going to tell what are all the safety tips, even if even I myself don't know. But I've added a few points and which 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 you can keep in mind while you are in internet, either through your mobile or on desktop. So, to avoid phishing attacks, be wary of attachments and links. Please don't open them unless you are sure about them. Um, please verify the websites you visit. Look for that lock symbol that I told you. Um, please avoid clicking off pop ups. Never share your password, PIN, card number. And even there are certain updates on your mobile. Yes, install them immediately. They can be security patches from the company to avoid attacks on your mobile or computer. Download apps from only liable stores like iOS stores, Google Play Store. Please don't use third party Play stores. Have a good antivirus, and as I told you, free public Wi-Fi is a complete no from my side. Thank you all. Thank you for listening to me. And I think uh, I've been able to communicate some message. And I hope, I wish you that next time you surf the internet, you are somewhat more aware when you go to on internet. So thank you very much. And yes, so
Thank you so much, Dr. Sapru, for this wonderful presentation. Now I request our participants, if you have any burning questions in your mind, kindly put it in the chat box. We can put it over resource person. In the meanwhile, I will request Professor Chakrabarti to handle the session. Over to Professor Chakrabarti.
Yes, I think this was a very important thing because this cyber hygiene and awareness regarding cyber is required at all levels, because in our country most of the people may not even know some of these terms. So I think it is important uh, that we spread this awareness, number one. And there will be many questions from the student team here, so I will request Dr. Vignesh to start asking these questions.
Sure. So already there are a few questions that have come up.
Yeah, I think that will be a lot of interest has come up. So
Sure, sure. So there is a question from Mr. Reyes. He has requested, "What is dark web and how do we get into it?" So that is his question.
Okay. I would not recommend going to dark web. It is illegal, and dark web is an
oh,
altogether a replica of internet, but a black internet. So we have a Google here, so we can access common websites, banks, websites, anything which we think. But there is altogether different world. This is what we call as a dark world, dark web, or a dark world. So this is below the internet. Their protocols are different. They do not communicate during www dot. Their Google is different. Their operating systems and everything is different. So there are certain onion clients and onion things which you can use, but this is illegal. Uh, my advice is not only criminals are there, even law enforcement agencies, they are also on the dark web to find out who is undertaking those wrong activities. So please avoid dark web.
Sure. So the next question is from Mr. Rajeshwar, and also a lot of people have asked a similar question like this. How do I know whether my laptop or a computer or a mobile phone is compromised?
Uh, at times it becomes very difficult. If it is an APT involved, you would not know. That's why big companies are facing so much compromises. But yes, you can run antivirus software every time, spyware you can install. Windows comes with an inbuilt uh, antivirus, anti-malware thing. You can occasionally run those, and known virus will usually get caught. Yes.
Vignesh, you are not audible.
Sorry, sir. As usual, it happens with most of us. So the question is it safe to use password manager being given by various browsers?
Um, uh, um, it it provides a better edge. Yes. um, um, it is a better way to keep your passwords, but there are paid services also, but it is a better way to keep your passwords, definitely.
So there is a assumption question that has come from Mr. Akshay. I heard that Pegasus spyware can be installed in our device just by a phone call. Is it true?
I have also heard of this. I'm not sure about Pegasus, but the kind of malware that we see, they are so stealthy. They would not even not reside on your machine. They will just work on the memory. They will clean all their traces, all the events which are generated by the computer. They will revert back to the original position, and you would never know that there was a malware anytime in your computer. They will cover all their tracks. That usually happens, and that's APT specialize in these things.
So there is a question from Mr. Monotosh Murmu. How to secure IP address or public IP address? That's his question.
um, no, a public IP address is meant to be public. Yes, it has to be exposed on internet. um, there are technical ways to protect your public IP address. Obviously there would be something installed on your public IP address. There can be firewalls you can install to protect your uh, websites which are
Sure.
exposed on the public.
The next question is from Mr. Sayanthan Sarkar. His question is, what is zero-day vulnerability?
It's a very good question and it is very relevant. A zero-day vulnerability is that, let's say there is some vulnerability in an Android phone, and which even the makers of Android do not know. Only the attacker knows, right? So let's say I'll take an example of WhatsApp. WhatsApp makers Meta Group, they don't know there is a vulnerability in WhatsApp that people can decrypt the messages. They claim it is encrypted. So this is a zero-day vulnerability if it exists. So the makers don't know, or even if they know, they have not found the solution of that vulnerability. So attackers only look for these zero-day vulnerabilities which they can exploit, which other people don't know.
Sure. So I think due to time constraint, this is the last question that we are going to take. The question is from Mr. Suman Haldar. His question is, does incognito mode help us somehow from online attacks?
Yes, somewhat. Yes, because
Okay.
um, uh, when you do not use an incognito mode, there are certain cookies which get stored into your browsers, and they can be used by the attackers later on. The cookies are used for communication across the websites, and it stores the information. It may store my passwords also, but in an incognito mode, those uh, cookies get killed. So yes, recommended to use incognito mode.
Yes. So the final question from my end
Okay.
is, this question is regarding the online banking that we have been used to these days. We have been using mobile apps of various banks. Is it
Yes.
safe? Are we really in the safe hands?
I'm afraid I have to say no. Yes. Yes, it is better to take precautions. Don't use a very good, as Chakrabarti said, use cyber hygiene. Don't uninstall other apps which can compromise the genuine apps on your mobile. But yes, there is multiple authentication in place. But on a personal end, please avoid uh, using banking apps on your mobile. Desktop are somewhat more safe. Yes.
So another follow-up question. Sorry, I keep going. This is also an important question. Is UPI safe? Can we use QR codes at shops without any uncomfortness? Thanks to Aniket Tiwari for this question.
Okay. Mostly it is safe, but as I've told you that attackers would find ways to work around. They can use quishing also, and at the end of day, UPI is an app which is installed on your mobile, and it just requires a pin. It is secured, very much recommended to use, but there is nothing in this world which is actually safe.
Sure. So that's it from my end. Now I request Professor Chakrabarti to take it forward.
So,
I think we've had a very interesting discussion, and this discussion could continue because the knowledge required is going to be quite a bit. I would recommend that this recorded lecture and the slides of Dr. Sapru, with his permission, may be provided to all the NDLI clubs so that it is made available, if that is all right. And uh, Vignesh, my other suggestion is that maybe we can collect a larger list of questions on this topic, because in the national program of cyber education and assessment, there has been huge programs of the government. But I think NDLI, with help of people like Dr. Sapru and others, can really help us, and we can collect all these questions and send it to the relevant experts, and then have some frequently asked questions and answers, and that would be a good outcome of education in this area. So I would suggest this is important. And I would like to thank Dr. Sapru for his time on a Friday evening. And I'm sure that everybody greatly benefited. Thanks again, Dr. Vignesh, for coordinating all this. I thank the audience for their cooperation and patient listening. We wish you all a safe and happy weekend, where we also tackle the other attacks and viruses which are physical in nature.
Yes. Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Chabru, for being with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.